Hello, BookTube. I wanted to share you today with some choice used bookstore finds, three of which I found just recently, and the one that's truly special, a couple of days ago. The first one is Joyce Carol Oates' 1992 novel Black Water, which it tells its entire story, the story of a young woman's life, as she is in the back seat of a powerful senator's car that has gone off a bridge and is filling with water that will drown her. It's Joyce Carol Oates finding an entire novel in the last few minutes of Mary Jo Kopechne's life off the bridge at Chappaquiddick, the accident that prevented there from being a President Edward Kennedy. And I'm warming to Joyce Carol Oates' fiction as time goes on. I am warming to it. I used to have a diatribe ready about it, but you got to revisit these things. You got to go back to the authors you don't like. And I have steadily gone back to her. I now find a lot of her nonfiction to be every bit as incredible as people have been telling me it is for 40 years. But I'm starting to go back to her fiction. I went back to this one first because it's the only one of her novels that I actually liked the first time around, although it's deeply unsettling. And then the next one is, I was glad to find it in hardcover. God knows where my own copy is. It's On Becoming a Novelist by John Gardner. Rather apropos in terms of the hot and sticky summer novel writing challenge. It's the author yields to a temptation that was always at his elbow throughout his writing career of being a pompous ass. But he's such a knowledgeable pompous ass that you don't mind that he wool gathers about being a grand old man of letters. I have a passage here that I want to read because it touches on me. Not directly, of course. I couldn't possibly be that old. Nothing is harder on the true writer's sense of security than an age of bad criticism. And in one way or another, sad to say, almost every age qualifies. No depressed and angry writer at the present moment can fail to notice, if he raises his heavy head and looks around, that fools, maniacs, and jabberers are everywhere. Mindless, tasteless, ignorant schools of criticism, publishing fat journals and meeting in solemn conclave, completely misreading great writers, or celebrating tawdry imitation writers to whom not even a common farm duck would give his ear. Gardner has a wonderful way with words. This is his meditations on all kinds of aspects of the art of being a novelist. I'm a big fan of his novels. I think he is one of the most unjustly overlooked literary figures of the American 20th century. And I wish, in my weaker moments, I wish that I could magically transpose this with Stephen King's ridiculous solipsistic book on writing on the shelf of every one of you who has that book and loves it. This is the real thing, of which that is the pale shadow. But I can't, and you'll come to it on your own. Next one is also literary, criticism, that sort of thing. It's Diane Johnson, her book Terrorists and Novelists, which is just a collection of reviews, but I shouldn't say just, because they're wonderful. In fact, they're much better than I remember them being. She's a very good occasional writer. Better, I think, than she is a novelist. And I wanted to read you just a bit from one of her, she's writing about Beryl Brainbush, who's another unjustly overlooked novelist of the 20th century. Her books are all wonderful, and at one point, a lot of them are historically based, and at one point, Johnson digresses just a bit and says, history is a queer disruptor of fiction. People always seem to enjoy a dash of verisimilitude, the real name of a newspaper reporter or a town, or a reference to a street they know. But the introduction and distortion of true events are often greeted with wild, rather mysterious approval. For instance, that which has greeted, in America at least, the novels of E.L. Doctorow with their real characters. Perhaps historical characters are preferred to real ones because they make the reader himself feel less frivolous. Soon you will read the 7 volumes of the history of World War II. Meantime, here's this interesting book about Hitler's early life. I wonder how much of it, the reader asks himself, is true. I honestly don't think I ever missed an original publication of her reviews, but I don't remember them being that good. And our next one, the last one, the truly special one, this I got a few days ago. It's William Dana Orcutt's From My Library Walls. It's from 1945. It's his memoir about learning the bookmaking trade and learning the antiquarian book trade in Boston. And I reviewed it on my intergalactically famous book blog, Stevereads. Not that you really review a book like this. I appreciated it. But the thing I wanted to share with you here on camera is something that only happens at secondhand bookstores. In the back of this book, I found this. A sealed letter. It's from Clinton Krause, Montpelier, Vermont, to Mr. Joseph W.P. Frost of Eliot, Maine. And it's postmarked 1977. And I know it's a federal offense, but it's not. It's opened on its own. I haven't looked at it yet. I intentionally didn't look at it until I could do it with you. Oh, copperplate handwriting. Look at that. That is truly a lost art. Thank God. Dear Mr. Frost, so they're not friends. A busy, busy month, and it's a pleasure to relax, have a cup of cocoa instead of coffee, and take the time to assemble what thoughts I have. Work, the rush period, and overtime are all biting deeply into my free time and energies, with the added attraction of the fact that a dozen or so of us have rather quixotically gone over the heads of our superiors and petitioned members of the legislature and the governor on the issue of waste, inefficiency, and poor management in the department. We've hardly endeared ourselves to what I call the bootlicks, arselicks, and lickety-splits, but being a good Republican, I have done my best to keep it clean, or at worst, done my best to keep the insults literate. So Clinton Krause from Montpelier, Vermont may have been a government worker. Isn't that interesting? From March 19th, 1977, a whole lifetime ago. And I assume that this book from my library walls belonged to the recipient, Joseph Frost in Eliot, Maine. How on earth it made it to the Brattle Bookshop in Boston, Massachusetts, I have no idea. And when? And why? Did he reply to this letter? Anyway, it's that kind of daydreaming that keeps me going back to used bookstores. That and finding treasures like this, which otherwise you'd have to go on eBay and bid for. But anyway, there you go. 4 thrift shop treasures that I wanted to share with you. And that's it for today. I'll see you tomorrow, BookTube. Thank you.